Have you ever experienced a moment when you realized you were on the brink of something significant without even realizing it at the time? That sensation of opportunity knocking, yet the timing just wasn't right? This is precisely what occurred with Blxst, and when he recounted this in a recent interview, the entire music industry took notice. This isn't merely a standard what-if scenario. We're talking about Kendrick Lamar, one of the greatest artists of all time, personally reaching out to Blxst for a feature on what would turn out to be one of the most critically acclaimed albums of the decade. Unfortunately, the collaboration never materialized, and the reason behind it may surprise you more than you expect. Welcome to Celebrity Rap Life, where the red carpets never roll up and the spotlight never fades. The rewards are legendary, because in Celebrity Rap Life, every downfall can become a comeback, and every headline tells a deeper story. Hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a second of what's coming next. Blxst has been steadily building his name in the industry for a minute now. If you haven't been paying attention, you need to wake up because this man has been putting in serious work. His smooth vocals and production skills have made him one of the most sought-after collaborators in the game right now. You've probably heard his voice floating through your speakers on tracks with some of the biggest names out there. And if you know his hit, Die Hard, featuring Amanda Rayford, then you already understand the kind of magic this man can create. That track alone showed the world what Blxst brings to the table, a unique blend of West Coast vibes mixed with R&B smoothness that just hits different. But what most people didn't know until recently was that Kendrick Lamar himself had his eyes on Blxst for something special, something that could have changed the entire trajectory of both their careers in ways we can.
Can we get the story behind Die Hard real quick with Kendrick Lamar?
Die Hard, that came about through Kendrick had reached out through his manager at the, I don't know if they still work, but shout out Anthony Soleil. He had reached out and said Kendrick wanted me on his album. So I thought it was a prank. I didn't even know who Anthony was at the time.
Involved with Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. Now let that sink in for a second. Kendrick Lamar, the same man who won a Pulitzer Prize for his music, the same artist who crafts albums like they're fine art, wanted Blxst to be part of his creative vision. That's not something that happens to just anybody. When Kendrick calls, you answer, because that man doesn't waste time on artists he doesn't believe in. He's selective, intentional, and every decision he makes is calculated to perfection. So for him to specifically want Blxst involved speaks volumes about the respect and recognition Blxst had already earned in the industry, even if the mainstream audience wasn't fully hip to it yet. But here's where the story takes a turn that nobody saw coming. Despite Kendrick wanting him on the project, despite the opportunity being right there in front of him, Blxst had to make one of the hardest decisions an artist can make. The timing just wasn't right. And before you start thinking he was being difficult or playing hard to get, you need to understand the position he was in. Blxst was deep in his own creative process at the time, working on his own projects, building his own sound, and establishing his own identity as an artist. Sometimes in this industry, you have to know when to say yes and when to protect your own vision, even if it means turning down something that looks incredible on paper. It's a delicate balance between seizing opportunities and staying true to your own artistic journey, and Blxst found himself caught right in the middle of that struggle. The way Blxst explained it, you could hear the conflict in his voice. This wasn't a decision he took lightly. Imagine being in that position, knowing that Kendrick Lamar wants you on an album that would eventually be praised as a masterpiece, but also knowing that you have your own dreams and projects that need your full attention and energy. Do you drop everything and jump on someone else's wave, even if that someone is Kendrick? Or do you stay committed to building your own legacy? That's the kind of choice that keeps you up at night, the kind of decision that could haunt you for years if you get it wrong. But Blxst made his choice, and looking back now, you have to respect the courage it took to stick to his guns. What makes this story even more interesting is the timing of everything. Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers dropped in 2022, and it was everything people expected from Kendrick and more. The album dealt with heavy themes, personal struggles, mental health, generational trauma, and social commentary that cut deep. It was the kind of project that demanded multiple listens just to absorb everything Kendrick was putting out there. Critics went crazy for it, fans dissected every bar, and the conversations it started are still happening today. Now imagine Blxst's voice woven into that tapestry. Imagine his smooth delivery adding another layer to those complex themes Kendrick was exploring. The chemistry could have been something special, something people would still be talking about years from now. But we'll never know exactly what that would have sounded like, and that's what makes this revelation so fascinating. Meanwhile, Blxst wasn't sitting around regretting his decision. He was out here proving that he made the right choice by continuing to build his own empire. His work has been speaking for itself, and Die Hard with Amanda Rayfer became one of those tracks that just refuses to leave your rotation once you hear it. The production is smooth, the vocals are perfectly balanced, and there's this effortless cool factor that makes you want to run it back immediately. Amanda Rayfer's contribution adds this ethereal quality that elevates the whole vibe, and together they created something that stands on its own merits. That's the power of what Blxst creates, and it's exactly why Kendrick saw something special in him in the first place. The interesting thing about artists at this level is that they understand the game in ways that most people never will. Kendrick didn't take it personal when Blxst couldn't make it work. Real recognizes real, and there's a mutual respect there that goes beyond one missed collaboration. In fact, the way Blxst talked about the whole situation showed nothing but love and admiration for Kendrick. There was no bitterness, no regret dripping from his words, just an honest acknowledgement that sometimes life and timing don't line up the way you want them to. He understood what he was passing on, but he also understood what he needed to do for himself and his career. That's the mark of an artist who thinks long-term, who isn't just chasing the next big look, but is actually building something sustainable.
Looking at where both artists are now, you can see that everything worked out the way it was supposed to. Kendrick delivered an album that will be studied and celebrated for generations, an album that added another classic to his already legendary catalog. And Blxst continued his rise, securing his place as one of the most exciting voices coming out of the West Coast scene. His features are becoming more prominent, his solo work is connecting with audiences on a deeper level, and the industry is watching closely to see what he does next. The fact that he was on Kendrick's radar at all opened doors and changed perceptions about what he's capable of. Sometimes just being considered for something that big can shift how people see you. What this whole story really shows is the complicated reality of making it in the music industry. It's not just about talent, though Blxst clearly has that in abundance. It's not just about getting opportunities, though he's proven he can create those for himself. It's about making impossible choices, trusting your instincts, and sometimes having the strength to say no, even when everything in you wants to say yes. It's about understanding that your journey is your own, and that comparing yourself to what could have been will only drive you crazy. Blxst could have spent the last few years wondering what his life would be like if he had been on Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, but instead, he focused on making the most of his own path, and that mindset is what separates the ones who make it from the ones who don't. The streets are always watching, always waiting to see who's going to step up next and who's going to fall off. In Blxst's case, the streets are watching someone who made a bold decision and is now proving it was the right one. His music continues to resonate, his collaborations keep getting bigger, and his name keeps coming up in conversations about who's next to blow up on a major level. The Kendrick story is just one chapter in what's becoming a much larger narrative, and if anything, it adds to the mystique and respect surrounding Blxst's come-up. He's not someone who got put on by jumping on someone else's project.
He's someone who built his own lane, earned his own stripes, and did it with enough integrity to turn down one of the biggest opportunities imaginable because the timing wasn't right. At the end of the day, this is a story about respect, timing, and the courage to follow your own vision, even when easier paths present themselves. Blxst and Kendrick will probably work together at some point down the line when the stars align properly. And when that happens, it's going to be something special, because both artists will be exactly where they need to be. For now, we have Die Hard and everything else Blxst has been creating, and honestly, that's more than enough to keep us satisfied while we wait to see what comes next from this talented artist who had the guts to say no to Kendrick Lamar. This story is far from over, and the truth is still unfolding. I want to hear what you think. Drop your take in the comments. And if you don't want to miss the next twist, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a second of what's coming next.